what if you were only known for the worst thing that you have ever done? And how would that make you feel? This is exactly what it feels like for someone who is trying to move on from a criminal past. A criminal record feels like a pair of invisible handcuffs that you wear long after your debt's been paid. And those handcuffs are debilitating. And the reason that I know this is because the worst thing that I'd ever done landed me in prison. I remember the moment standing before the judge, and he just looked at me and he said, "Miss Winner, you are in a lot of trouble." And those words hit me like a ton of bricks, because I knew at that moment that I was going to be spending a very, very long time in prison. And I just thought to myself, what in the hell have I done? I have just completely destroyed my life. My name may be Shelley Winner, but that does not mean I was always winning. I was on a losing path for most of my life, and by the age of 25, my life really started to spiral. I was in a loser's loop, making bad life choices, lying, cheating, stealing just to get another high. I was living my life in complete bondage to substance abuse. I lost my self-control when I started using meth, heroin, and prescription pills. I started selling drugs to support my habit. I lost my freedom when I got caught and ended up in prison. And right after my arrest, I found out I was pregnant while facing a 10-year sentence. And I lost my identity after I was incarcerated. Inmate number 13054-059. That's who I became. And like so many others incarcerated, this was the script that I was given. And here's what that script looks like. Teen parents, high school dropouts, both mentally and physically abused. My mother suffered with a severe anxiety disorder. My father was an addict to drugs and alcohol. His addiction landed him in and out of prison most of my life. And I'm sad to say that he recently passed because of it. He got me drunk for the first time at the age of 11. And when I lived with him in high school, he sold drugs from our home. The loser's loop was my inheritance because statistics say that 70% of children who have an incarcerated parent follow in their footsteps. This may sound absolutely crazy, but for me, prison saved my life, and it saved my son's life. My restorative journey started right after my arrest. It continued through my entire incarceration, and it continues today. The prison that I was at was unique and rare because it offered rehabilitative programs, which completely changed my life. When I was taught a better way to live, I found my life's passion, I found purpose, and I found hope. I found a way to rewrite my own script. And my scripted life of being that loser went unscripted when I decided to change. Programs like Defy Ventures taught me entrepreneurship and leadership skills. RDAP taught me the skills to stay sober and how to think more rationally. And upon my release, there was one thing that empowered me to continue to live out my new story. I got a job. That opportunity to earn a livable wage is game-changing for people like myself. A job means stability. It's the chance to be a contributing member of society and a self-sustaining human being. 95% of incarcerated people are going to eventually be released, returning to our societies. helping them just makes sense. Because people can be rehabilitated. And we have to be a part of that rehabilitation by hiring people with a record. Sadly, America's recidivism rate is 75%. So this means that 75% of people who get out of prison go right back to prison within the first 5 years of release. And do you know why this is? A lack of stable employment. If people can't find jobs, what do you think they go back to? Now, I know there's resistance for some on hiring people with a record. Some of you may not like the idea of internships or job opportunities going to the formerly incarcerated instead of college students who did everything right. And many of you may not want to be coworkers with someone who has a record. But let me tell you, we all make mistakes. And there are many people, myself included, who accept responsibilities for their actions and are using their second chance to make it right. There is no doubt that societal stigma is what's preventing companies from hiring people with a record. Stigmas lead to people wearing those invisible handcuffs, sometimes for the rest of their lives. Now, how is that just? People released from incarceration are excluded from employment opportunities based on one question. Have you ever been convicted of a crime? And although they have paid their debt to society, that slate is not wiped clean. And they are constantly being reminded of the worst thing that they have ever done, no matter how hard they work to change their script. The benefits of hiring the formerly incarcerated is loyalty. These employees have higher retention rates because they know that the odds are stacked against them in the workforce, and they are extremely grateful for that second chance. The company Total Wine & More has 127 superstores in 20 states, and they found that employees with a record had a 12% lower annual first-year turnover rate than those without a record. They are also a huge untapped talent pool. 70 million people, that's like the entire population of California and the entire population of Texas combined, taken out of the workforce. That's insane. Companies should definitely take advantage of this underutilized community. Let me tell you William's story. His life script was being a lost cause. Born addicted to drugs by a prostitute mother, William was in and out of foster homes his whole life. He never experienced belonging to a loving family until he joined a gang at the age of 14. By the age of 19, he was sentenced to life in prison for attempted murder. He ended up at Pelican Bay, the most violent prison in America, where they send the worst of the worst. And while he was there, he noticed that other lifers were being released for completing rehabilitative programs. With the intention of only trying to get out of prison, William started doing those programs. But something miraculous happened. Those programs started to work, and those teachings made sense. And for the first time, William understood a better way of life, so much that he walked away from the gang. He convinced the parole board that he had been rehabilitated and ready to be released. And right after his release, he found gainful employment with the union that provided a livable wage. He became a top performer there. He is now a productive member of society. He speaks with troubled youth that are involved with gangs and is now getting married and starting a family. William went from being a lost cause to having found a cause. Companies who are serious about diversity and inclusion need to include the hiring of these applicants, because you cannot create a culture of inclusion until you eliminate bias against all groups. Training programs are needed to help develop raw talent. Companies can create job training programs for specific roles within their company inside of the prisons. Internship pipelines are then needed to help prepare the successful graduate for the transition into the professional world once they are ready to be released. And hiring managers can conduct interviews through the prison video chat. There is a tech company called Slack doing exactly this. They hire graduates of a coding program inside of the prison called The Last Mile. My passion is to help the formerly incarcerated maximize their second chance and make a successful transition into society. When rehabilitated people are given the opportunity to successfully re-enter our community, our society wins too. It's also important that these job opportunities provide a livable wage because people need to support their families. And if they can't, what's the point? Mentorships are needed to help guide their way because many successful people have them. They need positive role models. They need encouragement to overcome the challenges that they will be facing. I met my mentor, Dee Dee, when I was in prison. She volunteered with Defy Ventures to be a judge for our Shark Tank style competition, which I'm proud to say I won. And immediately upon release, she gave me a job with her company called Proactive Business Solutions. And this job is what set me up for success. Her love and support have helped groom me into the person that I am today. So here are a few suggestions when considering an applicant with a record. Assess the relevance of the past conviction to the role, and instead, judge them on personality, qualifications, and most importantly, rehabilitation efforts. Do some research. There is a ton of it out there. ACLU published a great article about how hiring the formerly incarcerated can benefit your company. Post your next job site at 70millionjobs.com because this is a job board specifically made for people that have a record. My ask of you today is to set up mentorships with people getting out of prison. And if you don't know anybody, you can contact workforcefoundation.com and they can set you up. I ask you to be a committed ally at your place of employment if you have a passion for social justice. And what that means is to be that advocate to push for hiring the formerly incarcerated. Then you will need to get your upper management on board to support this because you can't fight this fight alone. You're going to need help. And last but not least, support rehabilitative programs, especially ones that focus on professional readiness. Code Tenderloin is a program that does exactly this. They helped me get my job at a global tech firm. They taught me how to write a resume, which got me the interview. Then they taught me how to interview, which got me the job. These rehabilitative programs were the best thing that ever happened to me, and it made me turn my life into who I become today. A restorative justice advocate, a dedicated employee, and most importantly, a loving, sober mother to my son, Jace. We have an obligation to help the 95% of people re-entering our society. We have to give reformed people a fair chance to be restored back to our communities by hiring an applicant with a record. William and I are not the only rehabilitated ones that deserve a second chance. I am one of many who is now a positive role model. I am one of many who is now a contributing member of society. And I am one of many who is working twice as hard to restore trust and integrity for a better path forward. And so is Angelique, and Brandy, and Dana, and Benny. Prison is not where our story ends. It's where, for the first time, we can change our script and start a new story. And if we do this right, we will change the narrative, change the world, and live life unscripted. Like so many people incarcerated, I was in a loser's loop, and I couldn't see a way out. And after losing everything, I decided to turn my life around so I could start winning. I earned my self-confidence back by getting a job and taking advantage of those rehabilitative programs. I earned my freedom back by committing every day to stay on the right path. And I earned my identity back by learning from my mistakes and becoming a better person. I am no longer inmate number 1305459. I am Shelley Winner.